Good morning. After seeing examples of powerful media effect theories, today I'm going to talk about examples of limited effects or limited media effects theories. So, historically speaking, we can contextualize the first model, that is powerful media effects theories, as happening before the Second World War in Western scholarship, whereas limited effects theories appeared after the Second World War. Why was that, in fact? Because after the Second World War, there was what we can call an upsurge of scientific research in different social sciences. And social sciences started to borrow techniques and methods of research that were typical to hard sciences, maths and physics and biology, etc. So social sciences adopted some positivist tenets, especially borrowing empirical methods such as observation, questioning, hypothesizing, experimenting, analyzing, and drawing conclusions and theories after that. So applying the scientific approach to studying effects of media led to the emergence of limited effect theories. So the results were not as absolutist as, let's say, overarching or generalizable as they used to be, or they used to be assumed before. So different studies brought about different results. The common factors among all these limited effects theories is that the media effects are contingent, not absolute. They are relative to the context, and that the audiences are very central in the perception of media effects. And the bottom line about audiences is that they are not all similar whatsoever. The first of these theories is the post-stimulus response theory. And post, as you will find it in a lot of concepts and disciplines like postmodernism, post-colonialism, post-structuralism, and so on. Post means two things. It means something that comes after, and it means the opposite, and mainly the opposite. So remember this very, very well. So according to this theory, how media affect audiences does not follow a deterministic cause-effect logic. And there is a set of perspectives to consider. One of these perspectives is the fact that individuals are different. So the first perspective is the individual differences perspective. People are different. They have different psychological makeup. They have different cognitive texture. They have also different affective composition. And because of these differences, of course, they have different perceptions of the world around them, including whatever they are exposed to, including more particularly the media. So the way they make sense of the media differs, or the way we make sense of the media differs from a person to person. The second perspective is the social category perspective, and here it alludes to the category, the social category we belong to, in terms of age, in terms of gender, in terms of income, in terms of belief, in terms of culture, etc. So people believe or belonging to the same social category tend to perceive the media in more or less the same way, but mainly in a way that is different from another social category. So youngsters will be affected by the media, but by whatever they see, whatever movies they watch, whatever video games they play, etc., in a way that is different from the way like adults will conceive of the media and will be affected by the media. I mean, following the same line, girls and boys will not be affected in the same way, or women and men will not be affected in the same way. Why? Too simply because different people, different genders have different preferences in media. They watch different things, for example. They watch different movies, they watch different programs, you know. Depending on what you expose yourself to, you will be affected in a certain way. The third perspective is that of the social relations perspective. And here, this perspective reminds that, after all, when we are exposed to a certain media feed, we tend to negotiate whatever we see, whatever we understand with people around us, with close friends, with relatives. And this discussion with these people tends to modify the effects. The second model is the two-step flow theory, the theory by Lazarsfeld, 1955. And here, pay attention, two-step flow. It's not one-step flow as it used to be with the magic bullet theory. And the two-step flow theory posits that the media messages pass through opinion leaders to opinion followers. So instead of having the media directly affecting the masses, there is another factor, a mediator or a mediating factor, that of opinion leaders. Who are these opinion leaders? Opinion leaders are those, let's say, people with a certain social status, with a certain education, with a certain connection, with a certain relationship with high offices and centers, mainly political, social, and media institutions. According to this theory, what opinion leaders pass on to the masses after they receive it is not just the content, it's not just the literal content of the media message, but they also transmit their own interpretation of the world. Okay, this is very important to remember. Well, as the medium is more indirect, of course, the content and the interpretation will differ from a person to person. What is very important here to remember is that this type of theory reflects a certain social fabric in a certain way. It reflects a society that was split and that was divided between an educated, connected elite on the one hand, and an illiterate, disconnected majority on the other hand. Now, the third model of this type of theorization, limited effects theorization, the dissonance theory, and that was posited by Clapman, 1960. Dissonance, what does this word mean? Dissonance means discord or disagreement or discomfort with something. I will explain. So, according to this theory, any information that is not consistent with a person's already assumed and already held values and beliefs and interests, any information that does not, go in line with these things, with what a person believes and likes and so on, will create a certain psychological discomfort. And this psychological discomfort is what we call a dissonance. And of course, that must be relieved. People select media content that is in accord and in agreement with their existing attitudes and interests. And at the same time, they even avoid certain types of content or communication, media communication, that does not go in line with these, with what they believe, what they like, what they prefer, etc. And sometimes they do that even unconsciously. So here, when we talk about this dissonance, that is disagreement and what it engages audiences in, it engages them in a certain process of Selection. What do they select? First of all, they select what to see. They select what to watch, what to read. So we have selective exposure. And of course, with selective exposure, we have selective attention. We focus more on this, not on that, etc. It is the way you make meaning, the way you understand something will differ according to what you see, the type of program, the type of show, for example, and the amount of attention you give to it, the amount of focus you engage in it, and accordingly we'll understand, and our understanding and our perception will differ accordingly. The fourth type of selection is that of retention. Of course, the more we focus on something, the better we understand it, or let's say the more complete we understand it, and of course the more perfectly we will retain it. So retention here will be also selective. Remembering again, selective exposure leads to selective attention, and selective attention leads to selective perception, and selective perception leads to selective retention. This is, of course, according to dissonance theory of Plattner in 1960. That's all for media effects theories. So as you can see here, I'm trying to be balanced, or to provide a certain balance between powerful media theories and limited effects theories. So 3 models or 3 examples for each one. Next time I will see you with theories of media, culture and society. Until then, goodbye and keep safe.